Hey, everybody. I'm glad you could join us today. And for the sake of the argument, I have two guests today. That's 100% more than I usually do. Taya and Jenna are going to be talking to us about Flock. And you're going to want to hear what Flock is if you don't already know. And you won't like it, I guarantee it. And AI, data centers. What else? What else is there to be staying awake at night over? But listen to what they have to say. Listen to what they have to say about one of our very prominent elected officials, a Democrat no less, and how they might be stepping outside of the line a little bit. Anyway, there's a lot of interesting information. Stick around, hear it, learn, do something about it, and join us every time on all social media platforms. Lori Goldman, for the sake of the argument. Thank you. Hey, Taya and Jenna. First of all, thanks for being here today on For the Sake of the Argument. And I've never interviewed two people at once. So I guess that makes this a threesome. But we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to learn a lot. Our audience is going to know a lot more than before you sat down to share your stories. You guys have gained, and I want you to tell us a little about who you are. But the first question is, you've gained a large following tracking the developments of AI data centers in Michigan and exposing Flock contracts in Oakland County. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what your work looks like? Tell them what Flock is, because a lot of people still don't know. Shame on us. And explain how you got started caring about this.
I have been an activist on social media for the past 6 years, and Flock has been on my radar for quite a while, and people really haven't known what they can do about it at this point.
What is Flock?
Flock is an AI surveillance company that is now nationwide. They have over 100,000 cameras nationwide, as well as microphones and drones. And it is a technology that tracks everyone, everywhere, all the time.
All right, I understand about drones, so I haven't seen drones, but when I see them, are they flying really high above me or close by, or?
They'd be closer to the ground.
Yeah, they use the ground to navigate. So one of the pushbacks we get is that they'll tell you that these drones have their cameras pointed up when they're going to their destinations. They're marketed as first responders. They don't respond to anything. They cannot respond to anything, but they can get HD footage of absolute tragedies occurring, but do not help anyone who's in those tragedies, unfortunately.
Yeah, and their cameras
are horizontal
at the horizon.
So that means that they can see everything below them, and they're recording and mapping as they go.
And what about the microphones you mentioned? Where are these microphones?
So if a city has the Flock Raven gunshot detectors, they're going to be all over the city because they use AI to triangulate the location of both gunshots and distress noises. But what that actually means is that these microphones are on 24/7 to pick up sounds, and they are incredibly prone to failure. I think in one of the cities we've looked at, they had a 92% failure rate. So they are not actually gunshots that they are detecting, but they send alerts to police's phone, and they show up on scene expecting gunfire, and often 92% of the time there isn't any.
It could be a car backfiring.
Yep.
It could be fireworks.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what made you even want to get involved? Why do you care?
I am a mother, and I don't want my child to grow up in a world where there is surveillance and cameras normalized. It terrifies me to think that I have made a conscious effort to keep my child away from social media at every turn, and I can't opt out of the surveillance from Flock. If I drive past them, they're tracking the occupants in my vehicle. If a drone flies over my backyard and my child's out to play, it sees her.
That's really insidious. It's like something from science fiction. And Jenna, are you also involved in similar, letting us know about this kind of bullshit?
Yes, I am. I actually have 17 years of experience in data privacy and security in my professional life. And Flock came to my attention through my work. And when I saw Debate Her's video, I went to the April 8th Board of Commissioners meeting in Oakland County to voice my opinion from an area of somewhat expertise and having experience doing penetration testing on Flock. And I knew personally of their vulnerabilities and how easy it is to hack their software. That's another huge concern, is not only is it always recording, but it's storing that data in the Amazon cloud. So every car, every person that passes by is being recorded and stored in Amazon's cloud. And that can be pulled up and accessed by Flock at any time, by the police department at any time, any third party that Flock decides to sell the data to. And we have no control over that as residents. And it's honestly not just residents. Anyone who drives through an area that has Flock, their car, the occupants of their vehicle, they're being stored and tracked. And in today's day and age, your data is one of the most valuable things that you have. It determines what companies can market to you, when they're going to be marketing to you. And we all know that in a capitalist society, your dollar is the end-all be-all. That's where it stops. That's what these companies want. And that's why we're also seeing a rise in the data centers, is because they're storing this data somewhere.
So, Jenna, you came to this just from your background experience through your work that piqued your interest, and you wanted to make sure that other people understood as well. I know that you are putting it out through your social media platforms, and one of those platforms is very, very well received and very popular with, I don't know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. I don't want to insult you.
Across platforms, I have about 400,000 followers.
That is tremendous. And it's called Debate Her?
Yes, and Debate Her Official on Instagram.
Okay, got it. And then what about you? How do you get your message out? And you guys have obviously, I want to know how you've been working together.
Yeah. So we met on April 8th and actually was inspired by you and came out and we connected about organizing locally in Oakland County and just getting the message out there about Flock. And it kind of organically grew from there. We became friends really fast. We connected. We spend a lot of time together now. And I also just recently started a social media platform to kind of ease the burden of getting the message out there if I can. And my socials are the Archer Dispatch. And I'm still very much a noob in the content creation, but just trying to help wherever I can and raise awareness.
All right, both noble endeavors. So what kind of success has your activism brought to bear against the data center movement? Is there anything you can tell us about? Have you been able to quantify? I know you said you've been going into communities and raising the alarm about Flock. So what have you guys seen?
Well, we've seen that in almost every city that we have strategized in, we have gotten Flock contracts canceled, particularly Clawson, Rochester. Well, Rochester was prevented, which is still a win.
What does that mean, prevented? Why were
They didn't have cameras installed yet, and they were looking to get them installed for the first time. So most of the contracts we fight are already existing, and we're trying to get them removed. And that actually adds to the struggle, I think, because they might have been in these communities for a couple of years already.
Wow.
And
you've been successful having these communities take down
Yes.
the Flock system? That's got to be the harder push.
Yes, yeah. The vast majority of places we have opposed Flock have been with pre-existing. Rochester, I think, is the only example where we prevented them from getting it up in the first place. But yeah, so it is hard to go at it from the perspective of you've had these in for a few years, but people are just now becoming aware of this issue. And when people are aware, we have found that bipartisan, 80% of people don't want mass surveillance. So we get it done, but it's a battle.
That brings me to my next question. Who have you found to be your allies that have helped you in this fight against Big Brother?
Everyone.
Across political lines, cultural, socioeconomic?
Yeah.
Yep. And it's been actually pretty incredible because I think nowadays our politics are very divisive. And I think that certain politicians want that to be divisive, and they don't want people on the left flank and people on the right flank to come together over an issue. But I think people are realizing that it affects everyone. It affects everyone's kids. It affects the future, and it's kind of a unifying issue, at least from what we have seen.
What were your reactions when you saw Governor Whitmer pose for a photo op with the shovels with Sam Altman at the site of the Saline data center? When you first saw that, what were your thoughts?
Class traitor. Like, very plain and simple.
Betrayal, anger. Felt like she sold out the state.
Michigan is a target for data centers because of the choices they have made to give tax deductions, but also because of our natural resources.
Yep.
Water is critical to keeping data centers running, and as we've talked about with Flock, they require a lot of data. I don't think data centers are being built because people are using ChatGPT. I think they're being built because they have mass surveillance and AI weaponry and all sorts of insidious things that do not benefit the everyday people, but do benefit a handful of tech oligarchs. So to watch, I think I was a big fan of the governor for a long time, and
Same.
I feel very much betrayed that we have watched. It's selling out to people who don't care about us. Sam Altman's not coming back to Saline to see how the community's doing anytime soon, and at that particular event, I know that we had protesters that were barred miles away from being anywhere near the event taking place.
Barred by whom?
Barred by Sam Altman's teams, I assume. I mean,
security.
like security, and told that they can't voice their opinions, while also watching them speak and say that the community is excited about this, despite the fact that Sam Altman sued the community to force this through after the community said no to it.
You know, and I think it is disappointing for myself as well that the governor would cave to this. And I'd like her to answer why. It's really not about Michigan. It can't be.
Oh, yeah.
There aren't enough jobs that come with it. And there's such a devastating destruction to our environmental resources. The water can never be brought back.
That's
or
true.
you know, redeemed, or whatever the appropriate term, cleaned.
Yeah.
It just can't. It's destruction. And let's talk about Line 5. I've had guests sitting where you are, at least in one of those spots, that talk about the fact that Line 5, with all the people running for office in Michigan, you have to nail them down. Are they going to continue Attorney General Dana Nessel's lawsuit against Line 5? Because we don't want that, and it's like 30 years past its expiration date in the Straits of Mackinac and other places, and the Enbridge Tunnel. This is all being necessitated by this new normal that we know.
Yeah.
For people to get richer, billionaires to become trillionaires, and data. And you know what, you mentioned something that I just blew my mind. I thought, and everybody thinks, well, it is ChatGPT, PT, and if you don't want ChatGPT, then we'll just go back to the dark ages. That's what I thought. Okay, we're all culpable because we all use ChatGPT. Although, for the record, I've never put myself 2 or 3 or 4 sizes less in a sequined red dress on Facebook, just so you know. So, what do you say to this?
It's very interesting. I think that there's this very forced notion that AI is inevitable. It's absolutely not. You only hear that from people who stand to gain money from the AI industry and the politicians that are in their pocket. AI is not inevitable. It's deeply flawed. It's unnecessary in many cases. The ChatGPT doesn't do anything differently than what Google did before Google AI. And I think there's the environmental impacts of mass consumption of AI. There's the mental impact that it has. You see a lot of studies coming out in psychology where they're talking about the impact that is having on the brain development of children if they're using AI. And at the end of the day, it's not inevitable. And it's going to destroy Michigan's most precious resource, which is our water. Michigan has the largest freshwater concentration in the world. And the fact that our governor and other politicians are not willing to protect that with everything they have is very alarming. It's upsetting.
Yeah, and a lot of political insiders, people that live and breathe and enjoy this like it's their fantasy football league, and follow these electeds around. I used to be guilty of that. I think we have to wake up and say, we demand more from the people that we send to office, not to sell us out.
We only get one planet, and we all have to live on it. It can't be an option to sell out the planet. Capitalism has to have a limit, and if it is survival of humanity, I think it should be the limit at the very bare minimum.
I agree.
And I also think that this blame that's being passed to the people about data centers and using ChatGPT and other, language models is another form of greenwashing. And it's kind of an old playbook at this point to say, the planet is struggling and it's all of your fault and not the people who are forcing things like AI to happen when it's not in that high demand. Like, our current language models are being maintained with the current data center infrastructure. This new push is not about us. This is about surveillance. This is about all of the other things that will benefit the few at the top and have no impact on us besides taking away our freedoms.
I would think the far right would be all over this in not wanting this. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say in talking about Governor Gretchen Whitmer standing next to Sam Altman, and to your point about her being a class traitor, one of the things that still haunts me that Sam Altman said was that he wants to put knowledge out there as a utility so that all of knowledge is behind an AI paywall, and you pay like you do your electric bill based on how much you consume. And I think that that's very intentional, because if you can dumb down the general public, they become a lot easier to control. And you decide how information is disseminated to the people. You can decide what information is. And I think that should scare everyone, because the knowledge that we have and the information that we have access to makes us more powerful. And that's how they're going to try to control us. It's through mass surveillance and controlling information. And it all tracks back to these data centers.
I look at the algorithms on our social media platforms and the loss of privacy and how it's driven a wedge in particular, which I never thought would happen to this degree, between Democrat and Democrat. Suburban white women that I live next door to, that I converse with and play Maj with, we are having a moment of extreme discord. And discord is fine, but not when parties aren't open to reasonable discussion and difference of opinion.
Yeah.
But speaking about a loss of privacy, let's go back to the flock controversy, particularly in Oakland County. Oakland County Commissioner, actual chair, Dave Woodward, is facing a recall election after pushing, and that is the right term, pushing through a flock program despite public opposition. I wonder if that's to take the essence off of the Sheetz gas station. I will never buy a hot dog from Sheetz gas station. What's your take on Dave Woodward, and should he be recalled?
I absolutely think Dave Woodward should be recalled. The April 8th meeting was the first experience I had in a local politics setting, and I had used my platform to
This
tell
was the
people.
commission meeting, April the 8th.
April 8th, yes.
Okay.
So that was when they were going to vote on the drones. And I had used my platform earlier that day or earlier that week to tell people that this vote was going to happen. I didn't know what to expect, but it turns out when you tell people what's happening in local politics, they will show up. So at that meeting, there were hundreds of people. It was a full house. They don't allow standing room, so we were squishing people into the seats as best we could.
They had to open an overflow room.
Yeah, so people showed up and were upset about this, and the commissioners knew it. One of the commissioners, Charlie Cavell, was speaking to the audience before it started, because they started about 40 minutes to an hour late, and telling people that they're still discussing in the other rooms, and he doesn't know what's going on, but they know that we're here about Flock, and we're going to get to it.
Isn't Charlie a commissioner too?
Yes, he is.
Who was discussing in other rooms?
So they had their committee meeting at the whole. So he was kind of in and out, but he did come and he has been very informative to
updating
the
you.
audience. Yeah.
Okay.
And he was also handing out some oranges for us to eat, because it was going to be a long meeting.
Yep.
Very
he
much
brings
appreciate
food to every Board of Commissioners meeting to make sure that the people are there to speak can do so with the energy that democracy requires.
So the meeting is starting late, and no one really knows what's going on. And as soon as the meeting starts, they vote to change the agenda. And they take public comment that is supposed to happen before the consent agenda, which allows the public to speak on what the commissioners are about to vote on. And they moved it to the end of the meeting. And
They moved the portion about flock.
they moved the public
Oh,
comment
the public
itself.
comments to the end of the meeting.
Yes.
Which means
so
that-
they vote on flock before anyone gets to speak. And at that time, Commissioner Charlie Cavell called for a roll call vote about moving the public comment because we, the people, deserve to know who of the commissioners are voting to take away our freedom of speech on the issue. And that was rejected. So we don't
And
have...
isn't the purpose of a public comment so that the board, the commission, the council, whomever it is, understands the public's feelings on an
Yep.
issue?
Absolutely.
And yet that was moved until after.
They had already voted.
Okay, got ya.
So that was shocking for everyone there. But I will say that everyone there stayed until almost midnight, and we still did public comment. And I think it was over 4 hours of public comment after they had already voted to approve the drones. I think there was an air of shock. I don't think anyone expected that our First Amendment would be trampled on, especially from local officials. I had numerous
By a
people...
majority of Democrat
Yeah,
local
a majority-run
officials.
Democrat local officials. I've had multiple people come up to me and say this was their first experience at a local meeting as well,
It was
and that
mine.
it kind of destroyed their belief in local politics because the local level feels like the place where you should be able to say what you want and
No
talk to
barrier.
your they live in your area. These are your neighbors that you're talking to, and we were trampled over.
That was also my first experience, and I was coming there expecting to be just very bored. I didn't really know what to expect, but it was a wild night. And then to listen to all the speakers, people had very strong opinions about it. There was a lot of experts in the area. I wasn't the only person who had data privacy and security expertise. There were several people there that work in cybersecurity, IT, and various industries, and to watch them speak, but then also to see Dave Woodward rolling his eyes and the other commissioners on their phone not paying attention. It was infuriating. They acted like we were taking their precious time, but the thing of it is that it's our time too. And they were essentially hired through vote by us.
They work for us.
Yes, exactly. And so to watch them not care was upsetting. And I think and then all the stuff that has come out about Dave Woodward since, obviously, I think most people in the area know about Sheets and what happened with Sheets. But it came out after that meeting that he had an all expenses paid trip to Flock headquarters. Flock paid for him to come out, and he co-sponsored the resolution for the Flock drones.
He didn't even tell the other commissioners about that trip.
The commissioners didn't even know that he had gone on that trip. So we found that out after the fact, and it started us thinking maybe Dave Woodward is not a good fit to represent us, and he should be recalled for some of his behavior and how he has abused the office he holds, and forgets that he represents us and that he was elected by us to make choices for the county that are to the benefit of the county, not his wallet.
I've read a few things over the last months, especially when the Sheets thing came out, and he's saying it's his right to earn money, to have a side gig, that is not in conflict with whatever the rules are, being a sitting commissioner in Oakland County. But you have to stop and think. If you are the chairperson of the Oakland County Commission, with correct me if I'm wrong, I think they have a huge fucking budget, like $2 billion,
It's in the billions.
Yeah.
$2 billion-ish dollars. I think that comes with a lot of gravitas. And when you're moving through the county and people know how much pressure you can put to bear, whether you choose to or not,
Yeah.
they might fold.
And we've seen that in the case of Sheets. I think it was WXY-TV, Channel 7. They did an expose on Dave Woodward's involvement in Sheets, and they interviewed someone from the Board of Aviation about the Waterford location of Sheets, at least they were looking at it. So Dave Woodward's LLC was helping the Sheets real estate person to find new locations, and they wanted to open a location near the Waterford Airport, and it would require an easement onto the airport, which never in the history of the Board of Aviation of Oakland County have they ever granted an easement onto airport property. And this person I'm blanking on her name, she came out and said that Dave Woodward used the pressure of his position as a commissioner and the chair of the commissioners to get that approved. And then as soon as that story broke, they withdrew the request for the easement, which I find very suspicious. And then also Dave Woodward was on record quoting saying that he doesn't need to disclose his financial situation, and then he voted against mandatory financial disclosure.
Yeah,
So
voted
it says a
against
lot.
ethics.
He voted against ethics.
Transparency.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that's what everyone ran on when they were trying to take our county back from what we considered the wrong hands. And they ran on transparency.
Yep.
And they ran on working for the taxpayers.
We have learned that a lot of elected officials hate being transparent because when people show up to these meetings, and it's not just at the Board of Commissioners, although it does happen there, but at almost every council meeting that we've shown up to, they always comment about how they're not used to the turnout and they don't like it, they don't know how to handle it. And they act annoyed that the people are there to speak and have their voices heard. And it seems like the goal is to hide as much as they can because they can get away with more if the people are unaware.
How do people find out when the Oakland County Commission meetings are held?
So on their website, they have a full calendar.
It's usually the second and fourth Thursday of the month, and it's sometimes at 9:30 a.m., which is very inconvenient, and also I think something that we should not allow. People are at work during those hours, but it's oftentimes at 6 p.m. as well. And they are very entertaining.
Never been to a dull one. I'm waiting for one of these to be what I thought it was going to be, which is boring. And they have always, something crazy always happens. And it just goes to show that how much local politics matters. I know everyone wants to be aware of what's happening on the national level, and that is, you should be aware. But you can have much more of a direct impact locally.
Yeah, and we've had such a great success getting people to come out to local meetings. I think it does take council members by surprise, but I think every time we have used my platform and announced a meeting, we've had a full house of people showing up. And these are genuine residents who care about the issue, but they've never had someone telling them what's happening. Local government is supposed to post meeting agendas 24 hours before the meeting. That doesn't happen most of the time. And most people aren't checking that. They're not following it. So if you aren't told point blank that there's an issue that you care about happening right here, right now, whether it's Flock or whether it's a data center or even data center moratoriums, which is something people have consistently shown up to support, if they don't know, they're not going to be there. But when they are told, people show up and want to be involved in this. And I think it's kind of a turning point for local government to see this. And we're watching the pushback in real time because we've had conversations with council members who have said, like, we want people to be more engaged. How do we do that? And my answer is always social media. And we had one council member tell me they didn't have enough time for that. And I'm like, if you want people to be involved, you need to meet them where they're at. And my platform has very quickly shifted into being an alert network to let people know across the state of Michigan, these are the meetings we know about. We're tracking across 7 counties now, meeting agendas. So every Friday night, I spend a couple hours going through every meeting agenda for every city across Oakland County, Macomb County, Wayne County, Genesee County, Grand Traverse, Livingston, Washtenaw, and we're working on more. So
I'm sure that takes a lot of time.
It's a few hours of time. I mean, not every city meets every week, so I do have it like we broke it down by with like what their schedules are. So like if they have their meetings on the first and third Monday of the month, I know to check it on those Mondays, but not all of the Mondays. So it's not everyone every time, but it is a lot of work. But we also FOIA'd flock contracts across all of Oakland County.
Yep.
We've done all of Wayne, all of Macomb now, and we're still working on it, which has come through a lot of volunteers, which has organically grown as we've been doing this. We've been getting people into group chats and asking for their help. But FOIAing the flock contracts that exist allow us to track when they are going to be renewing. So now, months prior to the actual contract being up to renew, we can start doing email campaigns to the local officials, and we can prepare for the meeting without me necessarily having to find out. In some cases, I found out about meetings 5 hours before they started, and that is a rush to get people to show up.
So if people want to hear and see this stuff, they look at you on what platforms and under your Debate Her heading?
Yeah, so I'm on TikTok as Debate Her, and then Instagram, Debate Her Official, and that also floods over into Facebook as Debate Her Official.
Debate Her Official. Okay. In a perfect world, ladies, what would regulation of AI and data centers look like?
I might have a controversial opinion about this, but I think that we don't need AI. I think that Steve Wozniak said it the best. We have AI, actual intelligence. We can use our brains. I think that until there is a way to regulate and control it, which there is not now, even the leaders in AI are saying that, it's not for the betterment of the people, then we don't need it. And with data centers, there's a lot of like smoke and mirrors about what they can do in a closed loop system where they don't need to have water. That's never been tested. It's never been done. And they keep using it as a selling point. So until there is a way where we can actually close the loop and stop our fresh water from being used to cool these data centers and also to control the noise, because I know it's destroying communities and their ability to sell their houses and go to a community that does not have a data center. Until we can do that, there should be a moratorium on any new developments.
And I also think we run into the issue, specifically with surveillance technology, of cities trying to renegotiate the terms of their contracts with Flock. And I have seen Flock come back and change their terms of service. But the issue with that is there will never be any oversight into Flock's operations. So one of the renegotiations we saw in Clawson was that the developers would not have access to their data. There would never be a way for us to audit that, to know if they accessed it. So if we can't actually confirm that they're adhering to their contracts, the regulations are just performative. And frankly, Flock has been known to violate contracts repeatedly across numerous states. There have been violations of contracts. So to trust that any regulation we'd put in would be enforced, especially when there's no oversight, it's impossible. It won't be done. I know the CEO has come out recently and he mass emailed all of the police departments that they work with and said that people who are against their company are terrorists and that we are trying to sow dissent into the police force and take away tools from local law enforcement. And I think anyone who is willing to call people terrorists for voicing an opinion opposing yours is a really bad starting point, especially for someone who is quite literally making a surveillance state.
It's also worth mentioning that, calling the members of a community terrorists for opposing your product is not a great way to get approval for your product. You have to, I feel like, and maybe I'm crazy, but you should have the public's approval. And it's very clear from the work that we've been doing the last several months that people do not want this in their communities, especially like at the Oakland County level. I've never met a person who says they feel unsafe in Oakland County and that this level of surveillance, that this level of a tech being used by the police is necessary. I don't think it's necessary anywhere, but the police have been perfectly capable of solving crimes throughout history. In 2019, there were no flock cameras in the U.S., and now there are over 100,000. And I don't think that police have gotten 100,000 cameras worth of better at solving crimes.
Maybe cars backing up. They've been on the scene of those more often than before.
They've been really good at harassing migrant communities and abortion seekers.
Yeah, they are disproportionately targeting minority communities. There is substantially more of this technology in those areas. But also there are police officers who are against this too, who feel like they can't speak out against this because it's expected of them to want this tool in their community. And I think that puts them in a really hard place. If they're being forced to violate their own morals, I've had so many reach out to me and want to know what to do and tell me some really alarming things. Like Flock allows you to make custom hot lists. So that allows them to basically enter a plate number and be notified where that specific plate goes all the time. And they don't have to list a reason for that. So one officer told me that one of the most common reasons they saw listed for the custom hot list was sus. So this is unprecedented technology that gives anyone who can access it the keys to see everyone.
If they want to stalk a girlfriend or see
Which
if a
we've
husband is
seen.
cheating or defame someone that's running for office,
Yeah.
there's a myriad uses for this.
Yeah.
Very upsetting. Thank you. I will not sleep tonight. So Taya
Welcome.
and Jenna, tell our listenership how they can best support your work if they're so inclined. And God, I hope you are so inclined, people. Go ahead.
Well, you can follow me on social media to be updated about all the meetings that I know about as often as I can hear about them. And if you ever come across any that I haven't told you about, please message me so I can get it out there, because I think people knowing is the most important part. But we also have signal chats specific to all of the counties I previously listed. So Oakland, Wayne, Macomb, Genesee, Grand Traverse, Washtenaw and Livingston so far. And then we have a statewide chat because I know there's some other counties that want to get involved, and we're just building up more people. And we will be at these meetings. Based on my FOIA and Flock contracts, we have meetings coming almost every month for the next couple of years. So we're going to be pretty busy.
right after this.
Literally, we're going from here to a meeting about Flock.
And then I'm also on social media, but I think more importantly is find out about Flock in your area. You can go to dflock.org for the most up-to-date.
Is that the letter D?
Yes, or it's deflock.org.
Okay. Oh, got you.
And they have the most up-to-date locations of cameras. And then if you find cameras in your area or want to know if they're being considered in your area, you can submit a Freedom of Information Act and show up, tell your local officials how you feel about it. I think it's the best way for anyone to get involved. It's surprisingly easy to do. And I think knowing what's happening locally is the best way to fight back.
And it's important to know that it works. Absolutely everywhere we have been, we have seen success to some degree. We had the issue at the county level with the drones, but now we are pursuing recalls. And we believe that we've talked to enough commissioners now that when that comes up for final approval in January, we believe it will be canceled. So we're confident on that, and we're still going to recall Dave Woodward. Hooray. And then the only other place we've had any struggle is Pontiac, specifically with their gunshot detectors, but they are actively pursuing policies and legislation. They are very concerned about Flock where it stands. Everywhere else has canceled or has prevented. So being there is all it takes.
It makes a huge difference.
Well, I think the two of you make a fucking huge difference.
Thank you.
Taya and Jenna, it's been my privilege to have you here on For the Sake of the Argument. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.